Welcome back. Family business used to happen behind closed doors, but these days everyone shares everything on social media, including their parenting styles, opening parents up to a lot of criticism about their decisions, whether they're being too soft or going too hard, and what kind of discipline Black kids really need.
Come here, you gotta learn today, girl. No physical discipline. Mom.
Discipline or abuse?
I told you being cute ain't shit if you have no education.
The question sparked by this now viral video of a mother cutting all of her daughter's hair off as a punishment.
Yes, this is what happens when you don't listen to your mom.
Thanks to social media, what used to be behind closed doors is now on full display. From verbal reprimands,
well, I'm pretty sure you're already known at school as a whore anyway, right?
To destroying beloved personal items like this young boy's Xbox game system. Even tutorials on the proper way to spank your child.
You lead with the hips. It's like lead with the hips and lead with the hips.
All raising questions about modern parenting and what's really best for Black children.
The effect that viral videos can have on children is definitely a detrimental one.
Well, let me see a show of hands of parents who spank.
Spanking, whoopings, beatings, no matter what you call it, physical discipline has long been a common practice in Black households. It's the source of plenty of jokes.
Boy, I will slap the caps off your knees. I will knock you into last night.
But for some, it's no laughing matter.
I got a really bad whipping for it. And when I put on my clothes to go to church, one of the welts from my back opened up and bloodied the dress.
And experts say it's prevalent in Black families for good reason.
It was not that long ago that many times in our families you can see and touch that, the stories that get told.
They have a different set of rules for Negroes down there. Are you listening?
Yes.
And a lot of that comes from concerns about the safety of Black children when they are not in our care. Because a mistake that a Black child could make that is normative in part of the growing up process of figuring out the world, that you could end up in jail, you could end up dead.
The body of Emmett Lewis Till has been found dead.
But now that it's hyper visible on social media, there's a renewed debate about whether it's okay. Research has shown that hitting your kids is associated with lower performance on IQ tests and can actually increase aggression in children. A 2021 study found that spanking may actually affect brain development in children.
A child's brain develops in response to their environment, and 80% of brain development happens between age 0 and 3. The child's parents also help to wire the child's brain circuitry through their interactions through those receptors that I talked about. So when you have parents who are yelling and hitting a child, we started seeing definitions of PTSD broaden to encompass other types of experiences, including things like child abuse.
So what does this mean for Black children who experience trauma?
So there was a recent study where children that have trauma are often misdiagnosed with ADHD, but the symptoms of ADHD can also present and look like symptoms of PTSD.
If I had to predict the future, there probably always going to be some Black parents who spank. And I wouldn't recommend it, keeping at the center that the more I can nurture this child and teach this child how to behave in a way so that they can get the goodness out of the environments that they're in.
As for the TikTok mom, she later posted follow-up videos defending her actions.
I told her if she continued, I was going to do that. So now I'm standing on my word after exhausting everything else.
Even posting a video with her daughter, now wearing a wig.
You're not hurt? I'm not hurt. What the hell's wrong with these people?
Joining us now, content creator and podcast host Sharona Drake Henderson and blogger Jamaica Miles. Thank you both for being here. So let's just get right into it, Sharona. You post a lot about parenting online. What do you make of this trend now of people posting so much about parenting on social media?
I think in the past, we've parented in isolation or whatever we were taught or however we were raised, we just thought it was right. But now we're in a place where things are more social and we're able to have dialogue about what is actually effective for our children. And I think a lot of Black parents are now rethinking maybe, and when I say Black, I want to be specific about African American parents, are rethinking the way we have raised our kids. And I think it's good that we do that because some of the things that we've been doing have been harmful.
So Jamaica, I want to ask you about some of the viral videos that we've seen, and often these involve mothers and their daughters, and the approach is in shaming them or trying to embarrass them in some way. What do you make of a lot of these videos that we're seeing that in some ways are a reflection of kind of modern parenting? It's not physical discipline, but it's something new. What's your take on that?
I believe that will affect any child. I believe that discipline should be between the parent and the child. I remember getting a whooping in school one day. My mom came to the school and did it. And I was like, I never want that experience again. So there's a thought in that parent's mind that if we make this a big thing and we embarrass them to that extent, that they won't repeat this behavior. But from outside looking in, I think that may be a little too harsh. I wouldn't do it to my son personally.
What's your approach to discipline with your sons? You have 2 boys.
I am a firm believer in spanking with my sons. It worked for them. I don't think I'm being abusive. I grew up with spanking, and so I understand the effects of them. My 14-year-old, he made his decisions thinking about the consequences and the repercussions, knowing that if he does something that is wrong, that, okay, my mom's gonna get on top of me. She's gonna spank me. We're gonna have some type of physical consequence. And so when he thinks like that, he finds himself not being in trouble as much. You know, he's thinking about that consequence.
And Sharona, your approach is very different. Yes. You talk about restorative justice, yes, a form of gentle parenting. What does that mean, and why do you think that's effective versus more traditional forms of discipline, spanking, whoopings, you know, what so many of us grew up with?
For me, the rubric of success is raising a competent, confident, and considerate individual. And when I'm gentle parenting or I'm parenting my child, I'm always thinking of long term. How does this affect you to be a leader and a king in the world the way I see it? And if you're being raised being afraid to make a decision because of how I might respond, that limits your ability to think outside of the box. And so when I talk about restorative justice, I also think about, you know, I worked on the west side of Chicago, right? And I've seen some things when we talk about, you know, police and everything else like that, that I've had to stand up and say, hey, I'm against this type of serve and protect mentality. But what I also had to carry on into my home is, well, I can't have that same serve and protect mentality where if I call your name and I say this and you don't do what I want you to do, I get to beat you.
So Jamaica, in recent years, there have been a lot of studies about how spankings affect children's brain and their brain development. There have been studies that suggest that spankings actually make children more aggressive and it can affect them in other ways. Does hearing that change your opinion at all about using physical discipline on your kids?
So I apply that gentle parenting along with the action, because I don't want my son to, you know, be angry and feel like, you know, he's having all of this hostility because of the consequences that I put on to him. But it doesn't change if I'm going to do it or not. I'm still going to do it. I talk to my son about it. We have the conversation. I explain to him why the same things my parents did to me. but it's gonna happen.
But a lot of people make the argument, especially when it comes to Black boys, that you have to be hard on them to prepare them for a hard world. What do you make of the argument that you are doing a disservice to your son by teaching him this kind of gentle way of discipline, and he's going to get out in the world and find a very different reality?
I think people are confused when they hear gentle. They think it's soft, it's meek, it's mild. What I'm doing is teaching him how to have authority in the world. I'm hearing we're too closely tied to our trauma. You know, so when people say, you know, this isn't Black, my child is not gonna be out here, you're gonna get killed by the cops. I've had people in my comments say, good luck when he's shot by the cops, right? I've heard those types of things. It makes me sad, not for my son, but for them. Because if you're trying to tell me to raise my son just like the harsh world outside, then where does a Black man have peace if he can't have it in his home? So your whole life, I'm supposed to raise you like there's nowhere where you belong? That's not okay with me. At least, if you got to go out in these streets and fight, I'm going to teach you how to be smart and make wise decisions, okay? But when you come home, there's going to be peace here. There's going to be love here. This is a place where you could cry, but you can also get restored and be accountable.
Well, these are important conversations to have, and I'm glad that we're having them. Sharona, Jamaica, thank you so much, both of you, for being here. When we come back, the video that has our Instagram comments on fire, I'll explain.